point. I am a huge fan of Durant. That's no secret at all. But I think Sylveon's a really nice adaptation to a number of things in this format. I think it provides an answer to so many Pokemon. And then I think Gothitelle finally getting its time to shine, something that a lot of people talked about Gothitelle at the top of the format, didn't quite get there, and now it's being given an opportunity on the big stage.
I really like that in past series that we watched Andrew Ding perform in, they utilized the Shadow Tag ability on the Gothitelle to trap the turn 0 leads in with an additional Pokemon that Andrew brought, and I actually thought that was really intelligent because it meant that there was no pivot ability, but I think that's something that I think Andrew's not going to be able to totally heavily rely on as a strategy because Wolfe seems to have a game plan in the back, or has the ability to have a game plan in the back with a back-end trick room.
Well, I think the other thing to talk about with Wolfe is he's so good at getting that lead correct, as we saw in his top 8 set against Alberto. In both games, his lead put him in such a clear, advantageous position that he was able to go from there. And yes, I think against Yuri he was forced to use those combinations in the back, the later Trick Room with the Rhyperior, and then activating obviously your own weakness policy with Bulldoze. But overall, he's just always thinking about the full game plan. So we'll be curious to see, if maybe Andrew has to mix it up and change up from that standard issue strategy.
Well, going to be changing things up a little bit, so not going to be bringing Gothitelle in this game, at least for the time being, but Andrew's actually going to bring the Durant and the Milotic, and Wolfe actually leading with the Dusclops and the Rhyperior.
Yep, going straight into it, saying, I'm going to Trick Room. There really isn't a reliable answer. I think over on Andrew's side to the Trick Room, he doesn't have a Pokemon that could function and sweep in Trick Room itself, so certainly a little bit of an uphill struggle, and Wolfe identifying that in team preview and saying, you know what, that's fine, I'm just going to lead Dusclops Rhyperior. That said, if the Rhyperior plays a little bit fast and loose, leaves itself a little bit open, could get caught out. Durant and Milotic both have options to hit it super effectively, but you need to make sure you get the knockout, or else the weakness policy is going to make this Rhyperior way too hard to handle.
Something else that might be hard to handle is this Durant that just Dynamaxed. Talked a lot about how that hustle ability ends up being so powerful with that Dynamaxed Durant. But Rhyperior is going to go for a Protect here. Wants to ensure that wants to ensure some survivability in case this Durant decides to target it down, which it does with a Max Steel Spike, and ends up doing just a little bit of damage through that Protect.
Yeah. It's a little bit. It helps out, just does get the boosts through on Durant and Milotic's side, but you activate the weakness policy too, so that's not really where Durant wants to be, and you've provided 0 answers for this Dusclops.
Milotic going for the Coil, so this is going to increase not only its attack and defense, but you're also going to increase its accuracy in case it decides to go for something like a Hypnosis, but Dusclops gets a chance to get this Trick Room off for free.
Yep, absolutely no way to stop the Dusclops setting up Hypnosis there. That said, Milotic has now got its defense boosted by 2 stages, so it will be able to kind of come in neutral against that Rhyperior, but smart play from Wolfe to hold on to that Dynamax from Rhyperior. You could have Dynamax and Max Guard, not taking any damage, or in this case you just stay in your regular form, you protect, you still get to activate your own weakness policy, and then you get to Dynamax the next turn and immediately take advantage of it. So I think really smart play, and he's staggered those Dynamax turns against Andrew into such a way that it lines up perfectly with Trick Room 2, you're not Dynamaxing out of Trick Room for any point, so he's going to be comfortably in the driver's seat unless Andrew can really weave in a huge attack in the next turn or 2.
Yeah, Durant does not want to be in this position of being Dynamaxed within Trick Room, so we'll go for the Max Guard, but Dusclops is going for an Ally Switch in case Milotic decides to go for an attack, but the Max Flare from the Rhyperior that we saw in that series, top 4 series, but unfortunately this Milotic is not going to take advantage of the fact that Rhyperior was going for attack, it's going for a Coil yet again, boosting its stats.
Yeah, this Durant's in such a bad position, and knowing about Rhyperior's Max Flare, that we did see, as you mentioned, in top 4, does make this Rhyperior-Durant matchup arguably even worse. It tried to Max Steel Spike turn 1, didn't get exactly what it needed, and now it's just facing down Max Flare, so I don't really think this Durant has much left. It's only got 1 more turn of Dynamax anyway, but I don't think it's even going to be given a turn to take advantage of that. It's seeing that, Andrew's just forced to switch it out, and when you're switching out your Dynamax Pokemon, that is not quite what you want to see. That said, Arcanine coming in, if Max Flare's heading that way again, not the worst thing in the world.
No, especially with the Intimidate. So even though you have the weakness policy boost, that Intimidate's going to drop that attack to a +1 stage instead. And Dusclops going for the Nightshade into the Milotic, just trying to get some damage off. And now Rhyperior is going to actually go for the Max Quake. Did they get the recorrect? It's going into the Milotic.
Yeah, Milotic, though, with now double coil boost and the follow-up from the Max Steel Spike turn 1, takes that, not too poorly as well. Obviously, the Intimidate from Arcanine helping out as well. And Milotic going to activate its berry, the Citrus Berry giving it a little bit of recovery. Milotic's Hypnosis will land on this Rhyperior, though. That double coil coming in, making sure there's no doubt about it. And, the only damage output this turn is going to be that Dusclops. That Dusclops limited to just Nightshade damage or potential Pain Split plays, if that's what it has. But, that damage output becomes a little bit lower at this point.
Dusclops is going to go for the Nightshade again. We saw how much it did to the Milotic the first time. Going to bring it to about below half, but Rhyperior is going to take its turn of sleep here as Milotic goes for a Muddy Water to doing some good chip damage to both of these Pokemon.
Yeah, that's going to be the last turn of Dynamax for Rhyperior. And both accuracy drops coming through on Dusclops and Rhyperior. Quite interestingly, though, what I like about this play is that now you're getting the accuracy drops from Muddy Water. Once you get him out of Dynamax, you're not being able to use max moves anymore. Means this Rhyperior could really struggle for the rest of the game. It's going to struggle to take another Muddy Water out of Dynamax too. But there's only one more turn of Trick Room, so maybe Andrew can carve out an advantage, buy some time there, but he needs to deal with the Dusclops before it just resets Trick Room.
Yeah, one more turn of Trick Room, so Dusclops is going to go for a Nightshade here instead of trying to reset that back up, and Milotic still takes it like a champ, but Rhyperior wakes up. Rhyperior goes for the Rock Slide. It doesn't get a miss at all, even with the accuracy drop, so it's going to be a double knockout.
Yeah, you can't stop the Rhyperior. It did, of course, have the weakness policy boost. Intimidate not enough to stop it. Milotic brought so low by this consistent Nightshading from Dusclops. Dusclops and Nightshade don't care, obviously, about your defense boost. Doing that set amount of damage every single turn just means, hey, guess what? I'm going to be able to keep on going. Now, Andrew, down to his last 2 Pokemon already against 4 from Wolfe, and the Dusclops still very, very healthy. Definitely able to set up another Trick Room. And this Rhyperior, yeah, the accuracy drop came through. Yeah, it's had its stats lowered a little bit, but all of those defense boosts he spent all the time putting in earlier just don't matter at this point.
It's been able to allow these Pokemon to stay on the field as long as they have. Wolfe hasn't had to make any pivots yet. And Rhyperior going for Protect while its partner is potentially going to set up that Trick Room as Durant goes for the Iron Head, hoping to get the flinch so that this Dusclops can't utilize its Trick Room. Hyper Voice, though, is going to connect with the Dusclops, and it still hangs on. It gets off the Trick Room.
Yeah, that pretty much seals it up, I think. We know that there's a Fire-type move on this Rhyperior. That's going to handle Durant with ease. And then Sylveon just not able to put out enough damage in this matchup. Sylveon are really, really important in some of his top 4 matches, I think. And it'll be interesting to see exactly how he decides to adapt to things in Game 2. I don't want to write it off. There's always a chance, particularly with that accuracy drop on both Rhyperior and Dusclops. If things keep missing and going silly, we're going to be in position. But Rhyperior is just going to save itself, completely deal with all of those silly stat changes it had to deal with earlier, and say, you know what, I'm going to the back. I'll come back out later.
Durant goes for the Protect. As Mimikyu comes in for the Rhyperior's place, Dusclops smartly goes for the Nightshade into the Sylveon just to get a little bit of chip damage. But Sylveon goes for another Hyper Voice. Dusclops not going to be able to survive through that one, and also pops the Mimikyu's Disguise on the switch in.
Yeah, Mimikyu's Disguise getting popped is nice, but at the end of the day, this Rhyperior is just able to come back in and do exactly what it wants without the accuracy drop from the earlier Muddy Water. So, yeah, Mimikyu's got itself in a slightly dicier position with its Disguise being busted, but it's still 3-2, and if we're going to talk about accuracy, we do also have to talk about Durant and Hustle. There's no guarantee, even if Durant manages to make it through the turn, that it lands a retaliation hit.
Hustle, that's kind of the downside of running the Durant, right? Is that ability has its downsides, but Protect, unfortunately, not going to get off a second time. Rhyperior goes for the Fire Punch. That's what the Max player is based off of, so Durant going to hit the one-hit knockout here.
Yeah, he had to find a way to deal with the Rhyperior while he managed to land a double Protect. Sylveon is going to just keep on going. The Hyper Voice does pick up the Rhyperior, so, if he'd managed to protect that Durant, might have been able to get there, but I think Mimikyu's Phantom Force is certainly going to be a bit of an issue.
Yeah, Mimikyu has now vanished completely from the field. Sylveon still has to deal with the 4th and final Pokemon in the back, which is going to be that Togekiss.
Yeah, that's Togekiss, you can't Hyper Voice into it. enough, I think, to get rid of it. The Sylveon is going to keep on trying. I don't see why not. Maybe landing exactly what it needs. Does try and weave in a Yawn, so another sleep option on Andrew's side. Maybe trying to open that up a little bit for him.
As Togekiss goes for the Dazzling Gleam, it's still going to do a bit of damage. Mimikyu coming back out of the dimensions with the Phantom Force. Sylveon hangs on, so Togekiss, without the opportunity to switch out, is going to get put to sleep after the next turn.
Yeah, Sylveon needs to protect this turn and make sure that it doesn't, get caught with any damage. The problem is, even if you protect, you can't avoid Phantom Force. So, it's kind of a no-win situation. Mimikyu's just going to get Phantom Force away. So Hyper Voice will probably be able to get it, actually. And Togekiss, critical hit on Mimikyu. That's just what he needed, I think, just to guarantee that knockout. And this Togekiss, if it doesn't get it here, it's going to go to sleep.
Dazzling Gleam isn't enough damage.
Yeah,
it is enough. Yeah, now Sylveon's going to get knocked out. Wolf takes game 1.
Yeah, I mean, I expected Togekiss to be able to do it, and it was interesting that Trick Room was ending. So if Trick Room had ended, then the Mimikyu would have been able to safely Phantom Force away and get rid of it. So he had to attack into him that turn, but that was the turn before Yawn had come into effect, so the Togekiss was still there, able to do enough damage. Obviously the single target Dazzling Gleam doing a little bit more, and Wolf, even though dragged it closer than I think he could have liked, was in a good position.
I actually think that Andrew did a really great job of pivoting Pokemon as well, though, dealing with the sleep on the Rhyperior. Rhyperior just woke up at kind of like the most inopportune time for Andrew.
Yeah.
That's just unfortunate.
I mean, I don't think it's anything he can be, too concerned about. It woke up, it landed Rock Slide twice through the accuracy drop from Muddy Water. But Andrew did all the right things. He opened up as many doors for himself as he could to try and get back into the game after, I guess, a rougher start. But, really not quite getting there exactly when he needed it. The one thing I'd be interested to see with Andrew's team, and obviously on a Durant team, most of the time you've just used Durant as your Dynamax. There could be another option that I think would be a little more available to him, and maybe put himself in a better position in game number 2. We'll see how he plays it, though. I think Wolf played that game flawlessly, never really in danger, and even at the end, when we were just kind of trading knockouts quite carefully, that was exactly what you needed to do.
Andrew mentioned when we got a chance to talk after their top 8 match that there's really 2 different modes, 2 different Pokemon on the team that really like to take the Dynamax factor, either the Durant or the Tyranitar.
Yeah.
Do you still think that Durant is the right choice going into this matchup?
The problem is I don't think Tyranitar's much better a choice against a potential Dynamax Rhyperior, right? I mean, yeah, you're going to avoid that option to activate the weakness policy as much, but at the same time, if the Tyranitar, which we did see actually in the top 4, has superpower, so we have access to Max Knuckle, you're still not going to be able to do enough through Solid Rock to guarantee the knockout on Rhyperior, and Rhyperior is just going to be able to Max Quake you back after a weakness policy boost. So I do see an issue actually with the Dusclops Rhyperior lead that Andrew certainly struggles to go against. He is going to lead exactly the same way, does have access to Hypnosis, might be stretching it, but Wolf respecting that and actually mixing it up a little bit too.
We'll be mixing it up. Wolf is going to lead Liepard Togekiss as Andrew leads Durant and Milotic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Liepard Togekiss is a bad lead at all. We'll have access to potential fake out to go after something like this Milotic, set it behind a turn and its coil setup that it likes to do, and then go from there really. That said, Togekiss in the face of Durant, not always the best matchup, and if you just Dynamax your Durant, then you are going to be able to avoid the potential fake out from Liepard. So we'll see exactly how he decides to play it. Obviously, there it is. Turn 1 Dynamax, not a real shock from a Durant player.
No, definitely not. This is where Durant Toy's thriving with that Dynamax factor and that hustle ability active. No accuracy drops when you get a chance to use those max moves, so definitely going to expect that Durant to Dynamax here, but is there going to be a match? Yes, there is. Looks like that Togekiss is going to get that Dynamax factor as well.
I think that has to be right, even though it's got the access to the Babiri Berry. As we've seen before, the extra damage from Max Steel Spike does mean that you can't rely on it to try and deal with that. So this Togekiss Dynamaxing itself probably going to be able to take a Max Steel Spike here quite comfortably, and then kind of play out from there. That said, Liepard just slowing down this Milotic and any setup it wants to go with, but Durant just firing away with this Max Steel Spike. There's the confirmation on Babiri Berry. We've already seen it in Top Cut, and we'll see how much damage it can do.
with that Dynamax, it's definitely going to be able to take it, but it looks like if the Dynamax hadn't happened, that Togekiss would have gotten knocked out, so smart choice from Wolfe in order to give it that Dynamax factor.
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely have to make sure you can get your way through turn 1. That does mean that Rhyperior, if in the back, which it may or may not be, will not be able to do that, and that said, the big feature for Durant is how fast it is. That's kind of just been nullified by this max airstream into Milotic.
Yeah, oh, even the Milotic is going to flinch from the Liepard, so not going to be able to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, Milotic just kind of getting beaten up a little bit there just because it was the free target. And clearly, Wolfe not too scared of the Durant. That said, he's going after it now with the Fake Tears, definitely trying to capitalize on that speed boost from Max Airstream.
Absolutely. So, Fake Tears, Max Airstream again to increase the speed, but also get the knockout on the Durant.
Yeah, Durant's special defense is absolutely pitiful. I hate to say it, but that is the drawback of Durant. It's fast, it's strong, it's got decent defense, but at the end of the day, it's special defense with the Fake Tears drop, not able to deal with that in the slightest. And I can see this Togekiss starting to run away with the game. There's now 2 speed boosts. Milotic, after that beating it took in turn 1, just forced to recover, and no damage coming from Andrew's side of the field this turn into Wolfe's side. He's got one more turn of Dynamax with Togekiss, and he's got the perfect partner in Fake Tears Liepard.
Liepard is such a fantastic supportive partner, especially when paired with the rest of the Pokemon that are in the team. So I don't think this Togekiss is going to have too much trouble getting any more knockouts, as Sylveon now comes in for Andrew's side.
Yeah, Sylveon heading onto the field, you know, we've seen it do some good damage, but the targets you want really aren't Togekiss. You want it to be picking up knockouts on things like the Conkeldurr that we've seen so often throughout this tournament. And Wolfe just seems in such a good position. Liepard, once again, Fake Tears. I think there might be a follow-up attack into it from this Togekiss.
I'm going to assume the same, but this time it's going to be a Max Starfall right into the Sylveon, and not enough to get the knockout.
Yeah, it doesn't quite get there. Does set the terrain up though, so may become a little bit relevant later, particularly with the Hypnosis from Milotic. That could have been one of his ways to try and get back into the game. Milotic doing kind of the first part of the Hypnosis combo by coiling, trying to get his accuracy raised, make sure you're not just throwing Hypnosis into the wind there. But, you know, with this Misty terrain, it really doesn't matter if you try and go for it with the Hypnosis.
Ooh, that Hyper Voice. Liepard going to be brought down to its Focus Sash, and that's going to be the last turn of Dynamax for this Togekiss from Wolfe.
Yeah, I mean, the Sylveon hanging on is kind of big. It does have access to quick attack, as we've seen, so maybe able to pick up an early knockout. That said, Togekiss still with an alright little health pool there. Liepard clinging on with a Focus Sash. It's going to leave the field, so access to Fake Out later on. And Dusclops coming in is certainly going to be a tough one to knock out, I'd argue.
Oh, yeah, especially if there's something like a Rhyperior in the back, then we might see this Dusclops go for that Trick Room. But Sylveon going to protect himself. Togekiss goes for the Air Slash into the Milotic that did just recover a turn ago. The Milotic's going to get the flinch as well.
Yeah, Milotic not given the opportunity to move there makes that turn really null and void. And Dusclops, as we've seen before, is just able to deal consistent damage with Nightshade. And this Sylveon's, I mean, we get the benefit of knowing, but I think Wolfe probably able to estimate that Nightshade might get it, so we can spend a little more time focusing down this Milotic with something like this Togekiss.
Yeah, this is, it's nice that the Dusclops has the option to go for some attacks, and it's not just going to be a fully supportive Pokemon. But the Sylveon going to switch out, and this is going to reveal the 4th and final Pokemon for Andrew, which is that Arcanine. Intimidate, going to land on both Pokemon, but as special attackers, they don't really mind that.
Yeah, they don't really care about that one little bit. Togekiss going for as much damage as possible with the Dazzling Gleam, trying to spread that out a little bit, making sure knockouts get picked up. This Milotic forced into another really defensive play.
Yeah, the Recover is going to bring that Milotic back up to full health as this Dusclops gets the Trick Room off for free. You have to wonder what's in the back because that Trick Room went off.
Yeah, I mean, seeing that, maybe you're expecting Togekiss to get knocked out there, you know, by something like the, as we saw from the Frisk, Pixie Play is going to help out with the to late ability and really just keep boosting those. There's the confirmation. He's set up his Trick Room, he's seen the Arcanine, he knows it's there. Maybe he's trying to catch something on the way in that will activate its weakness policy, or he's just going to be able to just bulldoze it in the following turn.
Milotic is continuing to bulk up its stats in attack, defense, and accuracy with these coils. So Arcanine now going for the Flare Blitz from Andrew will go into the Rhyperior for not too much damage there.
Rhyperior doesn't care about a Flare Blitz in the slightest, and right now, you know, it's the last time of Misty Terrain, so you probably want to consider getting rid of this Milotic after a couple coils. Would be able to start landing some Hypnosis, but on the other side of it, you could just deal huge damage on this turn by saying, you know what, Dusclops, Bulldoze, that's actually going to do a nice little bit of chip to Arcanine, a little bit of chip to Milotic, obviously less after the 2 coils, but then your Rhyperior's weakness policy goes off and you're just able to start dealing humongous amounts of damage.
The back-end Trick Room being a problem once again, but Rhyperior is actually just going to go for a Protect. Doesn't want to take any damage incoming from either the Arcanine or the Milotic, or potential Sleep later.
It's such a good bait, trying to bait out the Protect on Arcanine, and Wolfe calling that correctly, saying he's not going to let me get away with this play. I'll spend this time getting a little bit of damage down on Milotic, and he's just keeping that Milotic forced into these defensive plays. So many recovers coming down now, but, you know, probably wanted to just try and get that lower with the Nightshade, maybe try and capture Muddy Water in the Protect, and then go from there. That said, Trick Room only has 2 more turns to play out, and I think he's going to need to start going after some knockouts as soon as possible.
We'll see what the next play is, because I love the idea of the Dusclops going for the Bulldoze, and proccing weakness policy on the Rhyperior just seems so strong.
Yeah, it's such a smart play, and Dusclops having the opportunity to do that while it's very bulky and hard to knock out itself is exciting. That said, if we get out of Trick Room, I mean, there's certainly options with something like the Lipod coming in, being able to land a Fake Out and going from there to buy more turn and maybe keep Trick Room going up. So while there is an option for Andrew to play defensive, as he's been doing with this Milotic, you can't be too defensive or Wolfe's going to be able to just keep executing his strategy with nothing to impede him.
Arcanine going to withdraw, and instead Sylveon getting sent out in its place, preserving that Intimidate factor for later, as Dusclops goes for the Nightshade into the Milotic slot again, just continuing to force it into those awkward positions. Rhyperior now Rock Sliding, will catch the Sylveon on the switch-in.
Yeah, I mean, I like getting rid of the Sylveon. It would probably got the Arcanine as well. And Milotic caught with another flinch. This is the last turn of Trick Room. We know that this is the last time Andrew can bring Arcanine into the field. He's definitely trying to keep this Rhyperior as manageable as possible with the Intimidate. But, you know, the last turn of Trick Room coming up, the Rhyperior could leave and just try and play in a Trick Room a little bit later, assuming he can keep the Dusclops safe.
Dusclops has to get safe, as that Trick Room does only have 1 more turn, and as we saw from the rest of the Pokemon revealed from Wolfe's side, none of the rest of them have the potential of running that Trick Room, so Dusclops is going to be an important piece of the puzzle for the remainder of this game.
Yeah, Dusclops Rhyperior, I think, is a combination that he needs to protect as much as possible. That said, though, no Misty Terrain, a couple coils. You got to be careful if you're just switching around that you don't get caught with Hypnosis on the way in, but this Milotic Arcanine have a long road ahead of them to deal with all 4 of Wolfe's Pokemon. I think the Lipod's kind of manageable, you know, it's sound, it's Focus Sash 1 health, that's going to be easy to deal with, but at the same time, the Dusclops and Rhyperior, the core combo, are very, very healthy.
Arcanine goes for another Protect here.
Yeah, Arcanine's protecting, keeping itself safe.
Dusclops goes for the Nightshade. Again, targeting down the Milotic, just trying to force it into those back positions. Now this time, though, putting it in range of being able to consume its berry, so that Citrus Berry no longer active, as Rhyperior goes for another Rock Slide. Does miss the Arcanine because of the Protect, but does land into the Milotic. We'll see if it gets another flinch here.
Yeah, Milotic not taking too much damage from that because, of course, of the boosts from the coil, so it's in a decent position to try and deal with this Rhyperior, which has been intimidated a couple times too. But this Dusclops now probably feeling pretty good about itself and its option to try and set up a Trick Room. That said, Rhyperior, its damage output is low and may have to consider leaving the field.
I would agree with that, right? Then there's a couple of different options that Wolfe can bring in the back. There's still the Lipard as well as the Togekiss. Lipard was brought down to its Focus Sash, so would get knocked out to anything that ends up catching it on the switch-in, but that means the Rhyperior gets a chance to come back in after the Trick Room's been set up.
Yeah, setting up Trick Room for Rhyperior and getting it out to reset the attack drops, or activating its weakness policy to bring it back to neutral, would be a kind of a win condition here for Wolfe. That said, I mean, Andrew's holding on in this game. Obviously a little bit of switching, getting caught, but he's down to his last 2, and he does need to start dealing damage. That's probably something on his mind right now, as he spent so long keeping himself safe. He does need to keep going. This Rhyperior's damage output is now ruined for the rest of the game, though. Yeah,
that burn is going to be so impactful, as Milotic goes for the Hypnosis onto the Dusclops as well. No Trick Room for at least this turn.
Yeah, this Dusclops did fall to, you know, being caught by Hypnosis. Rhyperior just forced a high horsepower, and after the burn and the Intimidate drops, Arcanine is taking that very well.
Definitely going to take that well. And now also the burn not only having the damage output, but also going to get some chip damage each time.
Yeah, I mean, this Rhyperior is really going to struggle to deal the damage it needs, especially against something like this Milotic. And I think, you know, the Milotic's obviously set up a lot of defense boosts with Coil, but in the same way, you know, it's not going to be able to deal with, the Rhyperior is not going to be able to deal with it right now. So I think Andrew maybe opening a door for himself by saying, hey, I'm going to limit your physical damage output. I know that your Lipard doesn't really carry a damage threat, and I know for a fact that your Togekiss could, get knocked out quite easily. The one thing I will say about Lipard is Lipard carrying Foul Play against the boosted attacks kind of brings it neutral. He got his defense boosted as well. Could make for some interesting endgames.
Maybe making for some interesting endgames for sure. Wolf's Pokemon, all 4 of them are still up. But Rhyperior just going to go for a Protect. Doesn't want to take anything like a Hypnosis. Well, it can't because of the burn. But Arcanine is going to go for the Flare Blitz into the Dusclops. While it's asleep, I actually think this is smart targeting by Andrew, just in case this Dusclops wakes up.
Yeah, I mean, everything's going to be getting towards the Dusclops now, and this Rhyperior. Protect very smart, the Muddy Water heading that way would be an interesting damage calculation to see, but Dusclops remaining asleep, meaning we're in exactly the same position. Rhyperior taking consistent damage every time from this burn, and of course, its attack is just so low from the Intimidates.
So low. Something else that I noticed as well is like Milotic only has a certain number of recovers that it can do within a game, and it's already gone for so many because of how much damage Wolf has pressured onto that Milotic.
But look how much investment he's put into this Milotic. 2 coils, 3 or 4 recovers now.
That's true.
And now it means as long as Trick Room doesn't go up, which he's clearly trying to stop, he's going to be in a position to, whenever something comes in that he doesn't particularly like, just put it to sleep with Hypnosis pretty consistently. So I do not think this is a bad position for Milotic at all. It's a Pokemon that is being talked about a lot. There's a lot of interesting uses. You've got to be careful as well with the Bulldoze play, that you don't boost it with competitive. Probably something that was deterring Wolf from making that play earlier on, just why it decided to throw the Nightshades at it. Rhyperior, though, finally leaving the field and at least resetting from those Intimidates. Not going to be able to clear the burn, though.
Not going to be able to clear the burn. Togekiss coming in, and is actually pretty low from the amount of damage that it took during its Dynamax form. Dusclops continuing to get chipped away at by this Arcanine in the Flare Blitz, and Milotic going for the Muddy Water again.
Yep, Milotic just keeping on going with the Muddy Water. It's not going to be enough for a knockout, but it's going to be doing a lot of damage and lowering accuracy too. Dusclops staying asleep big there, because Dusclops desperately trying to wake up. Not going to be able to take another turn where it gets hit by 2 attacks.
No, it is definitely not going to. Togekiss might get a chance to fire off one more attack, but it's kind of difficult. What do you target down? Do you try to knock out this Arcanine, or do you try to pressure in this Milotic to use another recover?
I mean, at this point, I think the Togekiss is just going to try and buy a little bit of time. Maybe try and, keep this Dusclops safe. That said, if Togekiss pulls the Flare Blitz away with something like Follow Me, then the Muddy Water is going to be a single target, and as long as it hits, which it's been doing pretty well so far, this Dusclops is going to fall. That would then leave Wolf with Rhyperior and Lipard as a pairing, and you can only fake out one of the threats over on Andrew's side, so it would then come to a very, very close game, and the amount of time he's spent on this Milotic finally starting to pay off in this game.
Absolutely. Dusclops wants to try to preserve itself so that it can potentially get off another Trick Room. So Rhyperior actually coming out in its place as Arcanine goes for another Flare Blitz. You know that this Rhyperior is going to be able to take that one pretty well here.
Yeah, I mean, he's taking it so well. Arcanine getting itself damaged by Recall, but activating his berry. I think Andrew's just put himself in a much stronger position right now.
Yeah, the Mega Berry bringing it up above half, but the Air Slash was hoping for the knockout. It's actually going to bring it down to about a fifth of its health as the Muddy Water is going to connect with both of the Pokemon. Rhyperior and Togekiss going to get knocked out here, and now Wolf is down to their final 2 Pokemon. It's going to be difficult to get through this Milotic and Arcanine.
There's no way he can get through it. I hate to be bleak about it, but a very, very low Dusclops and a 1 health. Of course, Lipard, I don't think is going to be enough to get there. Milotic has the spread attack, and it looks like Andrew, for all the time he spent being defensive, a little bit critical of it myself earlier, but it's paid off, and the way he's forced Wolf's hand to play a certain way does mean that, we could be looking at a very close Game 3.
Absolutely. Dusclops and Lipard just too low to be able to really do the work that they need to. But Lipard going for Copycat here. Interesting tech that it's going to show off. So it's going to use the Muddy Water, but Milotic avoids the attack.
Yeah, Lipard using one of the moves that's been talked about on that team does mean it's going to be able to get some damage down. Of course, not too important landing on the Milotic, but it wanted to try and lower the accuracy. Milotic's Muddy Water will come back in retaliation. It's going to be pretty tidy to deal with both of them. Dusclops, given the opportunity, still asleep, but Lipard is gone from this game. So Dusclops against Milotic on its own does wake up and does fire off a Nightshade. That Nightshade, for the record, is going to be a 5-hit knockout. You're going to have to Nightshade 5 times without the recover coming in once from Milotic. So it looks like we're heading to game 3.
It does look like we're going to be heading to game 3. There's not going to be any misses of Muddy Water from this Milotic after all of those coils, so Dusclops is just waiting in the wings to get knocked down. Yeah,
I mean, the Dusclops not really able to do too much about this one. Interesting to note, and something that's I always find curious to pick up on, look at the timers for each player.
Yes.
Wolfe down to his last 39 seconds, with Andrew still with 4 minutes and a half, actually a little bit over that, and just clearly, you know, he had this game plan thought out towards the end of the game when he got down to the final 3 with Arcanine, Sylvie, and Milotic. Thought this game plan out and just kind of kept going from there. Milotic's Muddy Water, not a chance of missing after the coil boosts, and there we go, Dusclops knocked out in game 3 coming up in this finals.
Wolfe and Andrew now tied with 1 game apiece. It comes down to another fantastic 3-game set.
I think this set has been so good, and I will say, Andrew looked so up against it. He was against that Rhyperior Dusclops combo, wasn't able to stop the Trick Room, but all that time put into the Milotic, everything, relying on that combination alone, so important. I think Wolfe being forced to hold back on that Bulldoze play with Bulldoze into weakness policy, just because he didn't want to activate competitive on Milotic, really forced his hand. The Nightshades weren't enough, and they were easy to manage and mitigate with, of course, the recover.
Yeah, Milotic was just such a threat, such a, almost, I guess, more of a wall, I would say, just between Wolfe and that victory. I really can't stress enough how important that Milotic was. I think you can't either, in terms of how Andrew decided to play that game very defensively.
It looked quite sluggish at the start, you know, a lot of turns just recovering, a lot of turns coiling, a lot of turns basically doing anything but Muddy Watering. And we saw finally, you know, this Rhyperior, not Dynamax, didn't take that Muddy Water well at all. So certainly some adaptations to make. I don't know how much I enjoy Wolfe's play with the Dynamax Togekiss. It is one of the best Dynamax users. It was able to take the Max Steel Spike with the Babiri Berry, but honestly, that defense boost that the Milotic got at the beginning of the game didn't go anywhere. It didn't leave the field, and that meant it was able to just absolutely handle this Rhyperior, particularly when Rhyperior wasn't able to Dynamax itself.
Well, it's time for Game 3. Players locked into their choices so unbelievably fast. They know what the game plan is for this Game 3, and we're about to find out what those leads are. We're going to see Andrew's first. Andrew is going to start out with Milotic Endurance again. And this time, Wolfe switching it up one more time here with the Togekiss and the Reuniclus.
Yeah, this Reuniclus coming into play in the final game of this final set. And this Reuniclus has done so much for him and his team-building mates over this weekend. They've all talked about it, all talked about what a great Pokemon it was. And it looks like Andrew executing the Durant Turn 1 Dynamax strategy, as all Durant players like to do, and just see exactly what it can do. Of course, you do have to be a little bit careful. There is the option of Follow Me over on this Togekiss, which could make things a little bit difficult.
Yeah, Follow Me on Togekiss would redirect any sort of attack coming in from the Durant, but I kind of expected this as well. Wolfe going for the Turn 1 Dynamax as well, but this time I don't think it's going to be that Togekiss that ends up getting that Dynamax factor. I think Reuniclus is the perfect opponent for that.
Yeah, this Reuniclus, really, really good when it Dynamaxes, as we've seen in a number of sets that Wolfe and then some of his friends have played over this weekend. It causes so many problems. Of course, whatever the Durant is using as its maximum is going to be an interesting choice. You'd want to go after the Reuniclus, but you have to respect the presence of Togekiss. Looks like he was targeting the Reuniclus in this instance. Togekiss going to take that very comfortably, though.
Absolutely comfortably. We're going to see, though, what this Reuniclus decides to do. As its special attack is going to fall, I actually really like the Max Flutterby option on this Durant.
Yep.
As Milotic goes for a coil, and this Reuniclus is going to have to move last.
I think, honestly, the Max Flutterby is one of the better plays there. If you get the Reuniclus Reuniclus, you get the Reuniclus, and that's awesome. If you don't, though, I mean, you at least get to land the special attack drop from Max Flutterby, and that may have helped this Milotic out a lot. That does mean the terrain is electric terrain now, which is also great for Wolf, because only the Togekiss able to be put to sleep by a potential hypnosis. Anything on the ground is going to stay awake right now, and that means this Milotic's options very, very limited in, you know, the coil is not only there for the defense, but for the accuracy boost, and that's going to be a little bit troublesome. That said, Togekiss didn't Dynamax, which means a Max Steel Spike would guarantee get a knockout through the Babiri Barrier, especially with that chip in turn number 1. But you've got to respect the presence of Reuniclus just being able to sit there and attack back.
Yeah, Milotic's not going to be able to take another one unless, the Max Lightning at least. So I think that this is smart from Andrew, preserving that Milotic for later, recognizing that might have to be an endgame play. As Togekiss on Wolf's side goes for the follow me, and it's going to take this Max Steel Spike away from this Durant, but Babiri not going to help it here.
Yeah, it doesn't matter at this point. I do think Max Flutterby actually, although it didn't do as much damage or take a knockout, not a bad play, because the special attack drop was that important as we go through the game.
Absolutely.
That said, I mean, that special attack drop is still in play, and that Reuniclus may struggle to push the needle all the way for the knockout. Obviously, Max Lightning in the Lightning or electric terrain would be pretty important, but where does it go towards? It heads towards Durant this time, and with electric terrain, it's still just not enough.
No, it's not going to be enough, but that Durant is within a knockout range of anything else coming in. And Dusclops might be able to help out with that as it comes in for the Togekiss that just fell.
Yeah, I mean, you get confirmation on the items, we've seen them already, and it kind of puts the pressure on Andrew a little bit. It makes a mind game come into play. Do I go after the Reuniclus and just try and deal with it with a Max Flutterby, or do I try and get the Dusclops and stop this Trick Room going up? Obviously, you know, the Reuniclus is going to be able to do a whole amount of damage. You might not be able to get the knockout on it immediately because of the fact it's Dynamax. Reuniclus making a call there saying, no, I'm just going to end my Dynamax with Max Guard. But Durant going after the Dusclops with Max Quake, getting a special defense boost, which could be huge.
That could be huge, especially in the face of that Reuniclus that likes to go for that special attack. So maybe not within that knockout range anymore. We'll have to find out, as Sylveon now fires back with a Hyper Voice after its partner has gone for that Max Quake. Will connect with the Dusclops at least, but Dusclops is still on the field to be able to go for this Trick Room.
Yeah, Dusclops sets up Trick Room, which is going to help Wolf's endgame here, but both the Dynamax sessions are over for both these Pokemon. You know, those 3 turns have expired and we're kind of back to basics, and I think that lowers the damage output, not just from Reuniclus, obviously Durant a big issue there as well, but this Sylveon probably doesn't hate being in the position it's in. It's not immediately threatened too much, and that said, I think Andrew's, you know, positioned his board very, very nicely. You know, maybe Durant's time is up. Maybe Durant getting knocked out wouldn't even be a bad thing for him here.
Yeah, that would allow a free switch for Andrew, but there's going to be a switch on this side for Wolf.
I like this play. There's no Milotic in play, so he may be able to get that Bulldoze off. Right now, though, just deal with Durant. Don't even let it potentially attack. No doubt there, level 50 damage. But Sylveon's Hyper Voice is actually going to start adding up a little bit here.
Oh, look at that. Look how much damage it does. It got a critical hit onto the Rhyperior.
Yeah, a crit on Rhyperior. Really, really big there. And that means that Rhyperior is, you know, going to struggle to activate its weakness policy if it's not being activated by this Dusclops. Milotic coming in, so no Intimidate on this turn, and Milotic is rather low health. Something to remember, you know, we've only got the defense boost. The defense boost actually went on the Sylveon because it came in on the turn that the Max Steel Spike landed, so at least Sylveon has a little bit of bulk, but the Milotic lost any boost it got earlier in the game.
Dusclops goes to the Bulldoze anyway.
Must be confident of knocking out the Milotic.
It has to be, because that's going to proc the competitive boost as well as the weakness policy. So there's a little bit of a trade-off here from that Bulldoze, but I think you're okay with that if you're Wolf, if you're going to go for it in this instance.
Yeah, he's got to be comfortable knowing that he's going to get this Milotic. There's the competitive boost, something he played around very cautiously in game number 3, but in game number 2, caution goes to the wind and the Rock Slide connecting on both sides.
There's the Milotic knockout, and that's going to be about half damage to that Sylveon as well. Now we have Andrew down to their final 2 Pokemon, but Sylveon does go for the Hyper Voice and gets double knockout.
Yeah, you not being able to get the Sylveon there does mean that defense boost from Max Steel Spike, so important. No flinch as well. And now, you know, you actually have a 2v1 on Andrew Ding's side of the field. Really good play in game number 3. I think there's been so many changes to talk about after the game, but this Sylveon sat just above half health, does have to just deal with a Reuniclus. That's not going to have access to Dynamax anymore, and we'll see what the 4th Pokemon is for Andrew Dig.
It is going to be that Arcanine, so Intimidate's not going to really help out here, but that Reuniclus is still sitting fairly healthy, so that's going to be a bit of damage to have to get through.
Yeah, this Reuniclus is being asked a lot of questions right now. Obviously it's in Trick Room, it is going to be able to move first, but right now you really want to see if you have a spread move, and Reuniclus not known for some of those options, of course. Obviously a really interesting move pool on Reuniclus, but its answers right now, it may just have to be taking a lot of attacks. It is going to Psychic, and that's going to be a lot of damage coming out on the Sylveon, but nowhere near enough for the knockout.
Oh, and the yawn as well. Ooh. That means this Reuniclus is on a timer before it goes to sleep, and the Snarls from the Arcanine going to matter in this case, as not only is it going to be super effective damage, but more importantly, there's the special attack drop.
Yeah, Andrew Ding just kind of pushing the needle on this game and really putting this Reuniclus in a bad position. It's going to potentially be falling asleep. It's not going to get to attack Sylveon before it does that, and its special attack is just going to keep on getting lowered.
It's actually going to be a double protect, so no attack getting off from this Reuniclus before it gets put to sleep. The Psychic going to try to find its mark onto the Arcanine, but the protect is there, and now Reuniclus is asleep. Yeah,
Reuniclus is asleep. Trick Room coming to an end in this one as well, so this Sylveon and Arcanine basically just going to keep on going after this Reuniclus for the end of this game. It looks like Arcanine Snarl connecting again. Even if it does wake up, it's going to be doing no damage.
Super effective once again. Another special attack drop. Sylveon going for the Hyper Voice as well. It's going to be taking so much damage from that. It still gets a chance to hang on, but it's going to be asleep.
Yeah, it's guaranteed to be asleep. This is the first turn, and Andrew Ding from a really rocky game.